When you do it, you just don't even notice it.
Excited about food. He'd always hum. Here's the alarm.
Jessica, are we ready? All right. I have 3:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a workshop regarding plans for future recreational facilities in Wakulla County, and I will turn it over to the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate everybody coming out today, and it's so good to see folks in the audience. What this is the beginning of each quarter staff intends to bring to the board different areas of our governance that we have here in our county and have discussions on them. Next will be roads. That'll be coming up in the first quarter of next year, not the physical year, but the calendar year of next year. So with that, this purpose of this one is naturally as a recreational facilities workshop. We've got Michelle and Melissa and Summer. They will be making a presentation along with Kinsey behind me here. He'll be chiming in, I'm sure. We have other staff here, Brian with the rec park, as well as Cody, that are here, and I think that's about it. So, but anyway, the purpose of this is we're going to just do a short presentation of everything that's currently going on, things that we're applying for, etc., plans that we have. Then we'll have, naturally the public can chime in, and you guys naturally will have a conversation about it. We'll be sending out, based on this, there'll be, at our first meeting in January, we'll have the 1 cent sales tax overview as far as what our spending is going to be proposed. For recreation, I'm going to let you know now, we got to finish up our irrigation system and and start up the golf course. So pretty much this fiscal year, we're pretty much locked in as to where we are, but after that it opens up considerably. But there's also some funding in parks, etc., that we can discuss at that meeting in January. But anyway, the purpose of this is to get here's our plans to the community, but then get feedback from everyone. So that's going to be the purpose of all of these workshops as we move forward. So with no further ado, Ms. Melissa Corbett will begin the presentation.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. As Mr. Edwards said, I'm Melissa Corbett. I'm the Grant Research and Development Coordinator for Wakulla County. And as Mr. Edwards was saying, we wanted to bring this workshop to you all, provide a bit of information about the facilities you already have, some of the potential enhancements that staff has been discussing and the public has been discussing for these facilities. And there are a lot of great benefits, as you know, to these recreational amenities. It provides a great place for the citizens to go and exercise, to commune together. It also is a great tourist draw and helps bring in additional economic benefits to the community. And before we jump into actually talking about the facilities, I wanted to briefly mention the county's adopted infrastructure plan, or the AIP. And that is the document that we're focusing in on today as far as some of the facilities that you'll see. We would love to talk about all of the different facilities we have throughout the county. Unfortunately, time does not allow for that, so we're going to hit on just a few. They will come out of that adopted infrastructure plan, and that plan was first created in 2012, and it really serves as a great resource and a guide for us as staff for what projects that we should be looking for grant funding for. And that plan is revised every 5 years. The last revision was done in 2021, and so we'll be doing that again here in just a few years. But we'd like to go ahead and start in with the presentation, start running through some of the facilities, and we have allotted time, as Mr. Edwards said, at the end for feedback and questions. So if you don't mind holding your questions until the end, we'd appreciate it. But I'm going to turn it over now to Summer Pell, and she is going to talk about recreational facilities. Excuse me, trails. Thanks, Melissa. Section 1 of our presentation this afternoon is dealing with the recreational trails and trailheads. As you can see from this map, there are quite a few existing and proposed trails within the county. Currently, we have approximately 40 miles of existing trails. Those are the ones highlighted in green. And the little hiking fella represents the trailheads that are existing. Those are also in green. I like to say green means go, red means no. The red emblems indicate proposed trailheads that will be constructed in the future in and around the county. The blue lines are also indicating proposed trails that are intended to be constructed over the years, and that represents about 50 miles of trails. Currently, we have funding within the 5-year work plan from DOT to construct a segment that is shown here in yellow on Dr. MLK, and that is slated to begin funding cycle fiscal year 2026.
The idea here with the overarching theme is the plan is to have within our Sop Choppy, Panacea, St. Mark's, and eventually Shell Point and Crawfordville is to where you will be located near a bike trail, ultimately at the end of the day, and you'll be able, from that bike trail, be able to hit St. Mark's, Shell Point, Panacea, Obey, Sop Choppy, and have a true community pedestrian and also multi-use trail access.
So I'll first start with talking about the Ocklawatomie Bay Bike Trail. This serves as a connector to the capital city to the Sea Loop. Hold on, Kinsey had it doing something fancy. Okay, now it's working. This trail currently consists of an off-road paved non-motorized multi-use trail. There is a trailhead located on Surf Road and one at Masha Sands Park where there are shelters, parking, and restrooms. In the future, we are proposing enhancements such as a bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Masha Sands Road across Tide Creek, flashing crossing signals, and renovations to existing trail signage. One of our newest hiking trails is the Guy E. Revel Jr. Nature Trail Conservation Area. Boy, that's a mouthful. And this is brought to us in partnership with the Water Management District. There are currently foot trails with interpretive signage, 2 trailheads, and the longleaf pine habitat restoration project is currently underway there. In the future, we'd like to add restrooms, some additional signage, and improved access. Crawfordville connectivity is our next topic of discussion. As Mr. Edwards touched on, we are looking to provide connectivity throughout Crawfordville area, but also countywide. Crawfordville has seen the most growth, in comparison to the rest of the county in recent years, and so we have started requiring sidewalks for all new subdivisions that are developed in Crawfordville, and encouraging people to walk and bike to shopping and their businesses and other amenities within the Crawfordville area. As I'd indicated, we're looking to provide connectivity not only in Crawfordville but countywide through multi-use paths that connect amenities to the various communities. And the overarching goal is to ultimately have sidewalks that connect to the multi-use paths and connect to the larger, more regional trail facilities, and creating a connectivity to all of the county's activity nodes. Later this evening during the regular board meeting, staff will be presenting the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program application for multi-use paths along Spring Creek Highway and MLK.
Maintenance of these facilities are in conjunction with the Department of Transportation, and we, as the county, we operate and maintain the current multi-use facilities along Coastal Highway, conducting all the mowing and cleaning along the trails. Now I'm going to invite Melissa to come back up and talk to you all about the Capital Regional Transportation Planning Agency.
And I'm going to sneak back to the last slide, there we go, for just a second. While we talk about the overall transportation planning activities that the county is doing, as Summer mentioned, there's coordination with the Florida Department of Transportation. And also, we routinely coordinate with the Capital Region Transportation Planning Agency. They're the regional group that oversees transportation for our area. And staff does participate in the CRTPA's Technical Advisory Committee. And that's a group that meets most of the time on a monthly basis, and will provide feedback on the proposed projects that the CRTPA is considering to put into their priority project list or transportation improvement program. And we're very pleased to have that coordination with them. The projects that they move forward in their priority list are ones that go up to FDOT that are considered for future funding. So now we're going to switch over to talk about the park facilities that we have in the county. And these are bringing in a lot of people, not just residents, but visitors from all around the area. And the county has actually had around 533,000 cumulative total visits to our parks within the last 12 months, if I remember that stat correctly. The map that you see on the slide, it does highlight a majority of these park facilities that we have in the county. They do provide a great draw for county festivals that are put on by the county. Also, privately hosted events occur in these locations throughout the year, so they really are a wonderful community gathering space. And so to dive into some of the details on that, I'd like to bring Michelle Metcalf up to start the discussion on some of our parks.
Thank you, Melissa. The first park that we're going to discuss this afternoon is the Meadow Rec Park. The park is actually located off of U.S. Highway 98 to the northeast of Wakulla High School. This park was established in the early 1980s and is home to community team sports such as youth football, youth soccer, youth baseball, and adult softball. Along with these team sports, there are tennis and basketball courts as well as an intertwined fitness trail. The rec park itself saw cumulative visits of 278,000 visits, not visitors, but visits, over the past fiscal year. As you can see from the slide, there are some existing features that we'd like to highlight today. One of them that Mr. Edwards spoke about is the irrigation system at the rec park. We're very proud to be able to announce that it's going to bring new fields and better playing fields for our youth. We have new grandstands for spectator seating and a lighting system, and we've got 2 brand new sand volleyball courts. Some of the potential enhancements include a new concession stand and revised and renovated bathroom buildings. We're going to relocate the tennis court and shuffleboard area to the volleyball courts to be more convenient to the parking area. And we're going to plan to construct a trailhead at Evelinda Street and US 98 with trail connectivity to the capital city, to the Sea Trail and the Recreation Park.
As part of what you will see on the 1 cent sales tax spending is where the existing tennis courts and basketball court is there as an entry as you come in off of Highway 98. Though we're having to move those to accommodate for the irrigation pond that's needed for the irrigation system for the rec park. So that'll be ongoing. That project will probably start in February.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The next park we're going to highlight is Azalea Park. Azalea Park is located in the central part of Crawfordville and is considered to be a passive park. Over the past fiscal year, Azalea Park has had over 105,000 visits. Some of the existing features that we have at Azalea Park is a 0.6-mile walking trail with a comfort track with exercise zones along the track. We have picnic tables and benches and bicycle racks. And then also that's updated each quarter by the public library is the Story Walk, which provides reading materials for people that are on the trail. Some of the potential enhancements for Azalea Park would include funding that we've just been notified about from Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or the FERDAP program. Those would include renovating the restroom to be ADA compliant, additional park picnic shelters, tables, playground equipment, and lighting. Also, we're going to look into, as Mr. Edwards can probably speak about this, is to connect Azalea Park with Hudson so it's safe for our citizens to travel from one park to the other. We also are very fortunate this year to get some funding from the Department of Health, Wakulla County, to buy some new exercise equipment that as of right now is being installed in Azalea Park. I would now like to introduce Melissa, bring her back to the podium to talk about Azalea Park's sister park, Hudson Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, so for Hudson Park, this actually has been around, originally called Palm Park back in 1950 when it was first dedicated to the public use by the Hudson family. And it originally started out as that Palm Park, which is the northern section. The southern section of the park was recently acquired by the county back in 2020, I believe, from the Crawfordville Women's Club. And this park is another one of those great gathering spaces where you've got events like Christmas in the Park, where kids get to meet Santa. You've got the pavilion that has been renovated in recent years there with the stage. You've got a repainted roof that has been improved. There's been concrete coverings to the pavilion flooring, to the bathroom areas there. There's also been the addition of a central fan, to provide better airflow. Handrails have been installed along the stage area as well to improve safety. You've got other wonderful amenities such as landscaping, and as everyone has probably seen recently, the county was successful in securing grant funding through the Recreational Trails program for the installation of the new walking trail on this site, and provided other amenities such as trash cans. And so the potential enhancements that are being considered for this park in the future could be perhaps expansion of that new walking trail, additional restrooms, splash pad, food truck court, or perhaps even a farmer's market there, or fencing around the entire perimeter of the park, as well as increasing security there and safety. And the next park I would like to talk about is Woolly Park. And this is located in Panacea at the end of Mound Street. And this facility has seen 37,000 visits approximately in the last year, and it's home to a lot of great festivals, including the Blue Crab Festival. And that Blue Crab Festival last year actually brought in around 10,000 visitors to that site. And so it's a big draw. The existing features that we have there are a covered pavilion with stage and restrooms. You've got a playground, things like the sunshade and picnic facilities. In 2018, the county did receive a grant award from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection through that Recreational Facilities Program for the installation of a walking trail there. There's also things like the primitive canoe and kayak launch and informational kiosk. Some of the things that are being discussed for potential enhancements in the future could include a splash pad or restroom and stage renovations. So there's always room for improvement there. We always want to keep improving. And then the last park that we'd like to discuss is the Matches Sands Park. This one is located on the southern end of the county at the end of Matches Sands Road. And this one received over 21,900 visits within the last year. And it also has a bit of interesting features there, such as the boat ramp and picnic areas. You've got observational platforms, some walking paths, and some of the potential enhancements that could be explored there include a new overflow parking area and a ADA accessible path. We could reconstruct the pier or do beach renourishment there, add educational signage. So there's some great opportunities there for that facility. And I'm going to ask Michelle to come back up now, who's going to start off our discussion on community facilities we have in the county.
Thank you, Melissa. We're going to do a really brief overview of some of our community facilities that we have here in the county. This is section 3 of this workshop. We're going to talk really briefly about the Wakulla Welcome Center and the community center that's located in Cropperville. But let's talk about the Wakulla Welcome Center. This Welcome Center is actually located in Panacea, and it overlooks Dickerson Bay. The Welcome Center opened in the early 2000s, and it currently provides community event space, observation deck that overlooks the bay and surrounding marshland, and educational kiosks that showcase local artwork, historical pictures, and memorabilia. Some of the future potential enhancements that we have been discussing are a building renovation, which would include replacement of the roof, the windows, the doors, the siding, and the decking, which sounds like the whole building. So just be patient.
This building is in bad shape.
So we're looking into that. Also, possibly removing the elevator. If you've ever heard about the stories of people getting stuck in it, we're going to put an ADA ramp in there to be compliant. And then picnic tables with shade shelters. Staff right now, and that's Melissa, is looking into some funding from AARP to help with community grant, to help with some of these renovations that we'd like to do to the Welcome Center. And I'm going to call Melissa back up here to talk about the community center.
Thank you. Yes, the Wakulla Community Center, for anyone not familiar, that's located at the intersection of Shadeville Road and Trice Lane. And that is the home to our Veteran Services Office. Also our Parks and Facilities Management Office is located there as well. But you've got a great opportunity for event space there with meeting rooms. There's also indoor and outdoor basketball courts, an indoor pickleball court. We have picnic pavilions and tables and a playground. But one of the main things I wanted to focus on this slide was some of the potential enhancements that have been discussed for this property. One of the ones that I know has been in discussion for many years is a swimming pool. And during staff's research, we have identified a grant opportunity through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection where a swimming pool would be an eligible project. The grant opportunity, though, does require a match of 50% of funding for the project. So if we were to request $1 million for a swimming pool, we would have to provide a $1 million match to go along with it. The grant also requires that the site and all of the existing features that are on the same property with the swimming pool be dedicated for its use in perpetuity for recreational facilities. And so if there were to be anything down the road where you had an existing building on the site that was older and needed to perhaps be replaced, you'd have to replace it with a building that would utilize the same footprint. And so I know internally staff has had some discussions that if we were to further explore that grant opportunity, perhaps we might bring a proposal back that would separate a portion of the property so that the swimming pool and its amenities are on its own standalone lot. So that's just a thought that's out there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, this is through the it's a federal grant being administered or being awarded through DEP, right?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for that clarification. The specific opportunity is the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Right.
It's U.S. Department of Interior federal funding that is administered.
And DEP actually reached out to us and said you would be a good candidate for this.
Right. Thank you. Yes, and some of the other potential amenities that have been discussed for the site include things like multi-use fields and a community garden and new bathrooms. So there's definitely a lot of potential there. We're very excited to see what will become there. And now I'm going to ask Summer to come back up.
As we've talked about at the community center as well, go ahead, as y'all changing up, as we talked about, we'd like to also pursue, we're looking for grants for another gym because we need more pickleball courts and basketball courts. Pickleball is huge in our county, and as it is everywhere as well. Go ahead, Summer.
Okay, let's move on to county boat ramps. This map demonstrates all of the county boat ramps that are existing, as well as our blueways and paddling trails. Each of the ramps will connect a visitor or a resident to a designated paddling trail along our coastline and rivers. Fun fact, we've had in the last year 23,000 visitors to the Masha Sands Beach boat ramp. So that's pretty good. The first boat ramp I think I'm going to try to present this afternoon is the Lower Bridge boat ramp. We recently completed some improvements there to the existing ramp, and so now we have a nice new concrete boat ramp for motorized boats. There's also a primitive canoe and kayak launch adjacent to the existing boat ramp, and an ADA restroom and parking area. Moving forward, we would like to do some improvements to provide some additional parking area at this ramp.
This is, as you know, this is one of our busiest ramps, and we would have the numbers of visitors, but we have yet to, and I may get this wrong, geofence this area for our new software to pick up the folks that have visited, but that'll be coming.
That's correct.
Thank you, Kinsey. Newport Park boat ramp. Currently, we have an existing concrete ramp there, along with a primitive canoe and kayak launch. There is some existing parking, trash receptacles, and a portable restroom. In the future, we would like to do some improvements to the existing boat ramp as well as the canoe and kayak launch, and provide some additional parking spaces that will accommodate boat trailers.
This ramp has a significant drop-off at the end.
I was just fixing that. Has that been fixed yet?
No, you can't fix until we actually do what we did at the Lower Bridge. We have to do the same thing.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people have tore their axles off of
That and Rojo. Yep. And we can't fix that because it's such a steep drop-off. The only way to fix it is to build it back.
Oh, you'll bust your butt.
Yeah, well, the Lower Bridge one is halfway across the river.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So the next couple of slides are related to proposed boat launch facilities. The Oak Park Bridge boat launch is something that we're currently exploring. This site is owned by the United States Forest Service. We have reached out to them, and they've indicated that they currently have no plans to improve this location, but they're interested in working with staff to determine the feasibility of improvements if it's physically and environmentally possible at this location. So we are exploring that option with the Forest Service. Skipper Bait boat ramp is also a potential that staff is exploring for a boat launching site at this location to construct ramp and supporting facilities, and this site could also serve as another trailhead location. The next site that we are proposing is Rojo Boat Ramp, and for this location, we would need to acquire some additional acreage to expand and provide a wider boat ramp, if you will, to allow for 2 boats to launch at one time. Here we would include a picnic shelter, tables, benches, and bike racks.
As you know, we purchased land 2 years ago there for the parking as well as a future trailhead facility across Surf Road. But also, one of the things we want to do there is also put up acquire enough land to, as you were saying, to have a double-spaced launch, because that is if it was safer, that would be probably one of our most heaviest used ramps. But also, one of the things we want to put there is a fixed fishing pier. There's really good fishing there, and there's a lot of folks that love to go there and fish. So that's also in what we would like to do, with money being the problem.
So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa to tell you all about the future county facilities.
All right, thank you. So this is the last section of the presentation that we wanted to touch on before we open it up for feedback. And the 2 facilities that we're going to highlight today, the first of these is the future recreation complex in Crawfordville. So this would be on the northern side of Crawfordville, sort of that Ivan area, where looking at a potential 100-acre land lease or land swap with the United States Forest Service to have an area to develop this facility. And this is sort of in the area there across from Walmart. And if developed, the facility is sort of envisioned that it would be a multi-sport recreational facility that it could include athletic fields and restrooms, concession stands, and also playgrounds. And the possible funding sources for this could include, but not be limited to, that Land and Water Conservation Fund that was mentioned earlier during the discussion on the swimming pool. Also, the FRDAP, or Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program, might also be another potential funding source for this facility as well, but something that staff is excited to be working on. The other facility that is something we wanted to highlight is the Veterans Memorial Park. And the county currently owns this property. It's about a 2-acre piece that is located at the intersection of Mimosa Street and Cottonwood Street in Crawfordville. So that's kind of behind the Edwin Brown and Associates Surveying Office. And the area would create a park for veterans events, and it could also include memorial walls, nice amenities like a walking path and benches, landscaping along with parking, and this would also be eligible for some of those same pots of funding as the others, like that Land and Water Conservation Fund and the FRDAP funds. And this concludes staff's presentation today, and we'd like to open up the floor to get the commissioners' feedback and the public's feedback. And I know I'd especially be interested if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share about whether or not you'd like to see the county pursue grant opportunities for things like the swimming pool, if it means a 50% match, and how you might feel in general about grant opportunities that require a match. But we're very thankful, appreciate this time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I also ask if anyone is on the Parks Advisory Committee, if you'll raise your hand? So we've got 2. So I'd also like to introduce, if you want to come up and speak as well, this would be a good time for you to do that. Take her. Ms. Carter, I know you're going to come up. So. Come on down.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for your service on that committee.
I'm Elizabeth Carter, and I'm president of Friends of the South Choppy River. And,
If you will, speak into the microphone, so,
yes, I guess I should.
Yes, ma'am.
And speak to the commissioners, right, not to the audience. I'm Elizabeth Carter, and I'm the president of Friends of the South Choppy River, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the South Choppy Linear Park, which is not included in this plan today, but it is on the, come on, help me out, the EEI.
Capital improvement.
Yep, and it also is associated very closely with the improved, come on.
Oak Park?
Yes. Well, I'm not prepared to speak, but I'm going to try to do so anyway. In any event, one thing I want to mention to you is the Oak Park launch. And maybe staff was not, I should have talked with them about this before, but that project actually is viable. Friends of the South Choppy River, whose purpose is to gain access to the river for our public, has been working with Forest Service on that for about 3 years. And we have been there with them a number of times. We've been there with Chuck and also with other trails representatives. And we've provided them with a plan, a procedural plan. We went there with architects and landscape architects. They asked us, Friends of the South Choppy, if we could implement a more speedy approach to this by getting the elevation surveys prepared for that spot, and we did get those surveys and gave them to the Forest Service and to the Hammond Group, who's agreed to work with us and with Forest Service to try to bypass some of the red tape involved in running things through a federal project. And there is a lot of interest by the Forest Service in that project. And the most recent thing that we've been talking with them about there is a more low-tech approach to making that more accessible. And that's a good idea, because with the erosion issues there, the fluctuating water level, all of the issues in that particular spot, we do need to take a more low-tech approach. And so that's the latest on that. And I spoke to David Moody last week about it, and we at another meeting, and we are going to be getting together and continuing our dialogue with them about how to make this more approachable. So that's just a little update on that. And of course, we're happy to do whatever we can. At Friends of the South Choppy, we'll do whatever we can to help that move along. Back to the South Choppy Linear Park, which is also an access.
Ms. Carter, if you can bring him in so we can hear from some more folks.
Okay, this is basically the way this is a rendering. You all know that renderings are just this is a to-scale representation of what could be in that spot. I would point out to you that it is about the same size as Azalea Park in terms of width and linear. And what we propose there is another fairly low-tech approach to providing an access to the river there, not only for a simple canoe and kayak launch, but also for an ADA accessible walkway so that people can get from downtown South Choppy and the connectivity with the parks. We have another person who wants to speak with you about the relationship between this park to the infrastructure plan, but I've used up my time, so Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. If you don't mind, please fill out a speaker card with Miss Jessica. Wonderful, wonderful.
Does that mean I get to speak again?
Ma'am, I got you right. I got you right there. You're ahead of me. I should have known that. All right. Next, we're going to hear from Betsy Rudin. Is that right?
Betsy Rudin.
Rudin. Come on down.
I am Betsy Rudin, and I live in Miss Myrtle Langston's house, Bottom Smith Creek Road.
Bottom Smith Creek Road.
So South Choppy River is a river now. And I have been a friend of the South Choppy River for about 3 years. And when Liz said today,
Thank you, ma'am.
said that today she wanted to help out a little bit, particularly please share these folks and all for you, my neighbors. Hello. Imagine my delight when all of a sudden I actually read the adopted infrastructure plan, and you specified what you were looking for, and guess what? We are. Let me just clarify for everybody's benefit. We're talking about land that's already owned by Wakulla County. So purchasing land is not a necessity. This is a collaboration with the county and the Friends of the South Choppy River. And we're going to use the right-of-way that the county owns at the bottom of Rose Street by the Rose Street Bridge, 1,250 feet down to the waterfront. Okay? We're talking about connectivity with Depot Park, which is our delightful and very well-received native wildflower garden in the center of Depot Park, so that you walk all the way down to the riverbank itself, and not just a greenway connection, walking across the land, but down the river, Blueway, to Myron Hodges. So the location is terrific. Low impact, as Liz had said, ADA compliant, and giving an opportunity for rest, relaxation, sports, family activity, and education on what makes us special. So, just how compatible are we? Well, you're looking to acquire a parcel of land that can serve as a trailhead. You already own the land. And you've indicated in the Ocklackney Bay Bike Trail, Phase 5C, that a top priority for the commissioners is just that. So these are quotes that I'm taking from the plan. You don't have to refer to the plan yourself. We're looking for amenities like benches and boardwalks, but you can have a very low, 8-inch off the ground wooden boardwalk with a little tow rail so your wheelchair or stroller doesn't go over the edge, and have very little impact on the environment. But the opportunity for education through signage is very much there. Particularly now that we have QR-coded information on signage in Depot Park, our community is learning that there's a great way to connect to a huge amount of information just as you're sitting on a bench or strolling down the park. Flip it over, please. You were looking for connector trails, strategically placed with signage. That's us. Connectivity. If you look at this illustration on the upper right, you can see Depot Park is on Rose Street. Camellia Avenue intersects with Rose Street. The linear park is that diagonal oblong. From the river of the park, you can go to Myron Hodges, and the South Choppy's right there. So you, as requested, can expand a multi-use trail connectivity that's currently serving the city of South Choppy by extending it downtown. So we've got sidewalks in town now. Come up to the Methodist Church, just keep going, and you'll end up in the park. Very, very short distance. Blueways, it is a natural place to have a launch. Fishing and kayak launch, perfect location. Also, the Rose Street Bridge, underneath the Rose Street Bridge, is a perfectly sheltered spot. If you put benches there, you'd already have a covered pavilion that is paved where you can spend my rainy afternoon. Okay, last thing, trailhead. We would be an ideal trailhead, okay? I would mention, I don't think Liz had a chance, South Choppy just recently received its designation as a trail town, the first in Florida. And this, for those of you who understand the trail town concept, is a natural, integral part of it. I think that's about 3, is it not?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Alexandra Weiss.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Weiss. I've had the pleasure for several years to be on the Wakulla County Parks Advisory Board. Cody and crew put up with me. I am also the retired Florida Recreational Trails Program Administrator of 21 years. I also administer the Land and Water Conservation Fund for the state of Florida. So the only thing I have to say as we move forward is for everyone who's looking at funding opportunities to look backwards at how the land was purchased, what are its constraints, what grant money is already there, and to look at your long-term compliance. When you go into a park and add additional facilities or revise them, DEP and Federal Highway really don't have a problem. They just want to be advised and concur with future plans because they understand needs change. But again, when you put a park boundary, as was mentioned earlier, that boundary is there. It is set in stone, whether or not it is this county commission or 20 years in the past or 20 in the future. If it's perpetuity, it's in perpetuity. If it's 99 years, it's 99 years. And the reason those grant programs have that is for the protection of the expenditure of those funds and for your residents and visitors. And also, please do not try and finagle the definition of a project or an item, an element, to fit a grant program because it will get found out. So I offer my assistance. I like helping with Cody. So that is it. And I did it under my 3 minutes. Would you please tell my Toastmasters group that?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for serving on that committee. Next, we have Shannon Harvey.
Hi, good afternoon, Shannon Harvey. I am a retired landscape architect for 32 years here in Wakulla County. I am very supportive of the Oak Park Bridge trailhead. I hope we, as a community, can partner with the Forest Service to get that implemented. I do have big concerns about the 100-acre land lease or swap across from Walmart. Being a landscape architect, I have 32 years of recreation planning, I have 32 years of transportation planning, and also stormwater management. That particular location for a multi-sport recreational facility concerns me mainly about transportation. And everybody knows, and who lives here in Wakulla County knows, that the transportation is not very friendly right now in that area, along 319 all the way from Gulf Coast Lumber all the way up to past 267. I have been told, and I hear rumors, that the section downtown Cropperville won't be expanded for quite some time, several years. But when you have ballparks, let's relate to MedArt, when you have ballparks, you get tournaments and then games, and so we're talking cars, hundreds of cars. The people that live in those communities, because there's not a lot of access to that location and to that property, a lot of folks will be cutting through neighborhoods that probably didn't know that in the future that they would have that type of facility located in that area. Outdoor lighting, speakers, by calling games, all of that can interrupt a quiet neighborhood that currently is what it is right now for those folks. Transportation, that really bothers me to have the amount of cars that will now be cutting through neighborhoods that at this time serve neighborhoods. A little bit of cut through off of Ivan Church Road, but not necessarily coming to a destination. I also know that swapping land and leasing land from the federal government is not very friendly, and it's not a local decision by local managers. It is a regional and Washington decision in regards to federal lands. So I encourage you guys to please look elsewhere for more arterial collector streets, locations like intersections of 267 and 319, also the land that was bought years ago with a grant off of, I think it's Shadeville Highway or maybe Lower Bridge Road. It was also still sitting there. I think there's some storage units that are being built next to it, but
The Expo land?
yes.
TCC owns that.
But other places where transportation can come from all over the county, not just everybody diving into right across from Walmart at that light. And I think it's a great idea for other locations, so that for the good of the whole.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kylie Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me. So I'm new to Crawfordville in Wakulla County. I'm from Leon County, moved here 3 years ago. I'm not gonna make this too long up here. But so I'm here to be the voice for recreation for skateboarding and skating and biking, not just on trails, but on like obstacle courses, because when most people think of biking, they think of just trail riding, but there's different types of biking, like pump track. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but in Tallahassee there's a pump track. It can be used for skateboarding, skating, or biking. But I forgot my clipboard at my seat. Do you mind if I grab it really quick?
Oh, go right.
And thank you for your patience. So, you know, the popular sports here are probably football, baseball, cheerleading, very common sports. But there's a lot of kids that aren't interested in participating in that, which is fine. Like, nothing against those sports. I love those sports. But I think that having not necessarily just a skate park at the community center, but a versatile skate, maybe for skating, skateboarding, and biking at the community center would give something for kids to do other than the sports that they're required to do through school. It would give them another recreational option and give them something to do to keep them safe from skateboarding by the road where they can get hurt. I've heard stories of kids getting hit by cars out here. And so I think that it's really important for the kids that are interested in this sport or roller sports to have somewhere safe to go. And I do think that the community center would probably be a good place because it's centrally located. So I think that would be safer for kids to be able to get there other than the far out locations like Medart Park or Woolley Park. I just think that it's really important for kids that are interested in the sport to have somewhere to go that's safe. And also to, if there was an opportunity to create the space for one, I think that it could also be good for Wakulla as a community because, you could have events where you set up food trucks out there for kids. There's just so many different options. When you think of skate park, you think of like a skate park with a bowl and a ramp, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. It could be as simple as a loop to start with, kind of like Hudson Park, that loop, or at Woolley Park, that, and then add on to it as it goes, where it can not just be used for skateboards, but skating and biking as well, especially for kids that are just beginning it. Because right now we use the 4-H building, we use the arena, and we use it like our little rink in there, and we use the parking lot there. But we have quite a few kids that have joined the club and done it there. But I think that's the main thing that I wanted to. Oh, and also, you guys mentioned MedArt Park, the exercise trail that goes around. I checked that out, and that sidewalk is barely there. Like, there's a lot of, there's actually dangerous, probably like if it was an elderly person walking down that trail, they could trip very easily and get hurt around that MedArt Park trail, and I don't know if that's something that's going to be redone. But we tried to skate around it, like just to see if that was an option for the kids, and I was like, no, that's not going to work. So, thank you guys for your...
Great. Thank you very much. That ends our citizen comment. Questions, comments from the board?
I just want to thank staff for all the work y'all are doing with the grants and everything. And I want to thank the citizens and the people who got out and spoke. Please continue, and we encourage you to continue pushing for more and more, because as you all know, in government, we're up here and we go after these grants, we don't get them. So it makes you kind of get complacent. So I just want to thank all of you for continuing to push and asking these things. And yes, Rec Park's got a lot of stress on it. We know it, and we're looking every day. But we encourage you to keep doing what you're doing.
Reiterate what he said about thank you for staff, great presentation. I really enjoyed it. Two of the things that really what I want to try to look at is the restoration of the beach. And I know I talked to Michelle about grants, and I know that's going to be expensive to try to do, because when you go down there and you look at it, it is washed away. It's gone, so there's no beach down there for anybody to really do anything. But one of the things I think that we're really missing out is on the Rec Park. Girls travel softball, which I coached for 15 years. You got baseball and the football's not as much, but between baseball and we're missing out on a lot of tournaments.
You're talking about the tournaments.
Yeah. If you go to, granted now we're not Panama City, but if you go to Frank Brown Park, that's the type of park facility that I would really like to see here. But I know we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, so I really like to look at that. But I also know the amount of funding that comes into there just from these tournaments for baseball and softball. I got a lot of my friends right now, they go all over the place, from Georgia to South Florida for baseball and softball tournaments. So I know the amount of money they say they spend, and I think we are missing out on that.
Yes, soccer as well.
And soccer's got to be big also.
Fastest growing sport.
Yep, it's a growing sport, so that is another thing that a lot of the parents are looking at. That's it. Volleyball as well. We did a lot of travel. Yep, travel with my another thing that's really gotten big. A big challenge too is lodging. That's an obvious. Yep. You bring a lot of people here, you got to have a place for them to stay. Yep.
Well, and Lake City is a prime example of that. They started having all the tournaments, and now the hotels are popping up.
Yep. Good deal. So you talked about boat ramps, and I think that's a priority, because every Saturday and Sunday you can drive around, and there's hardly a spot available at any of the boat ramps. And certainly I want to keep an eye on that. Any way we can expand water access and parking to water access, I think is a very big priority. I would certainly like to see a swimming pool, but I know when we've looked at it in the past, it's a very heavy lift. Compared to boat ramps may cost quite a bit to get into it, but there's not the ongoing cost like the swimming pool and the maintenance and the insurance and the staffing. So hopefully we can pull the swimming pool off at some point, but it seems like to me financially it's kind of a heavy lift.
The splash pads would be a much easier lift.
Definitely.
Than the swimming pool. So if we can
an intermediate step
on the splash pads.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess I was excited that Ms. Rudden shared with us that they have QR codes in the Depot Park and Sock Choppy, so perhaps we could bring those back with regard to helping pay for some of these amenities for people that do not pay to park at boat ramps. The thing that I got out of this today also was the Oak Park Bridge boat launch and the potential land swap. May I ask staff about this?
Sure.
What happens with the natural boat launch site owned by USFS? How does that work out with regard to, I guess I'm trying to weigh what the difference is are we going to swap them for that, or are we going to potentially they're going to give it to us?
So that is still kind of in the process of discussion right now. One thing that we had conceptually threw out to them is that county would lease that area and complete the improvements there. They're not opposed to doing some improvements potentially. There is some concern with, elevation and site conditions and, what happens when we have a lot of rain. And so it's one of those things that we kind of need to study and see if it's even feasible, and then, take it to a step further on how we get there.
Most of the grant opportunities require us to own the land or have control over it. So a long-term lease from the Forest Service, because the Forest Service is not going to do it. It's not going to do it.
Right,
Okay.
right. And so a grant
long-term lease,
this opportunity may not be an option. So that's something that we may have to look for funding elsewhere, use 1 cent sales tax funding, or some other avenue if we can't secure a grant because we don't actually own the property.
But if we have long-term lease on the property, we can get a grant for it.
Depending on the funding.
Right.
Depending on the source.
And that's probably not a big price tag for what's proposed there, that particular site, right? No, it's not a big...
Depends on how extravagant you get with it.
Yeah. It makes a great trip to go down from there. Yeah. And so, I would really support that one.
I'm not putting you on the spot here, and I should have asked you this long before this workshop. How many, out of our parks, how many do we have relationships with either the state or the federal government with crossover? Does that question make sense to you? So,
let me ask this different way and see if this is what you're asking. How many of
Wakulla
our
counties, correct?
direct park is Wakulla counties?
Shell Point is
Wakulla counties, but we have covenants that are governed by DEP.
Those are the things that I'm going through with regard to
So we have 4 FCT sites, but I would say that pretty much every single one of our parks has some tie back to a grant.
Okay, thank you.
So you listed a park on there, it looks like it was on Wakulla Springs. Was it next to what county park is that was on that one chart? Was that the trailhead? That's what I was wondering, if it's that Chapman. Okay. The walking trail.
Are you talking about the Guy Rebel?
No, there was one that was,
I believe if you go back to the very beginning.
I think it might have been one of the first slides. Yeah, see that?
Oh, I thought Melissa was standing next to me, sorry. Go back to the very first slide.
Yeah.
There is a trailhead in red. Red means no. We don't have that yet.
No, go back.
Going.
You already
Very
passed it.
first.
Yeah.
Very first slide.
Yes, you did. I saw it.
It was done.
Yeah. Is that the one you?
You passed it.
There.
Thank you so much. We'll go on 267. Well, you just passed it again. Right there.
Right there.
The pink there at Wakulla Springs.
So that would be the state park.
Okay.
That's the state park.
All right. So that's a
It's
combination.
park, but that's not right. That's
That's
state park.
what threw me off. Okay.
Good catch.
No, there is a walking
I
trail.
thought you meant the trailhead, because DOT is doing some trail, feasibility study for trail from Wakulla Springs to the, St. Mark's Trail
Okay.
as well. So that would serve as a trailhead as well, Wakulla Springs State Park
And
will.
as far as the agreement with the Forest Service, we have some sort of agreement with Piney Creek, with that boat ramp, right? Yes. And so that, so there's a precedence there that,
Maintenance on that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we provide maintenance there, as well as Commissioner Messerschmidt, as far as ownership, like Summer said, the properties here in the parks in Crawfordville, especially Azalea and Hickory, Hudson and Azalea, we own those, but there are covenants with the family that own those.
Exactly.
The Hudson family, right. So almost all of our parks have ties to something.
Ties to a grant
Or
and,
something.
or, the way it was acquired.
have you looked for land up off 267 for the Northern Rec Park?
We've done a preliminary search up there. We tried to keep it south of that. We actually looked, there's some property, south of 267 that has both, it runs between 319 and Lonnie Raker. Tried to buy that. It's already been parceled out, but we tried to go in. There's one family that owns the whole thing, and
Yeah, that was parcel that never developed.
parcel that never developed, nothing sitting there, and we've tried everything we can. They just won't sell.
Yeah.
Won't sell. That would have been the perfect spot. If you could get to it multiple ways, and
Much better access to the parcel over.
the only other folks that have any land up there to speak of is the school board.
The Duggar property, how big is that?
And Duggar's, if they ever sell the farms, that would be your other spot, yeah. Because other than that, the state pretty much owns the majority of the land in that area of any significant acreage.
Yeah, trying to protect the spring.
Right,
It's a
right.
prime area. And
That's right.
It's actually a good place for a recreation park because it's really great access for citizens, especially northern citizens.
Yeah, some folks even suggested that we put it with our deal with the
South Georgia Oil Company Station. I was wondering that too, if we would have the latitude to do that.
Yeah.
On that, because there's, 200 acres, I think, there?
Yeah.
Gas station property would be it'd be perfect. It'd be a good usage for it. As long as there's no strings that we can't work with, as long as that would be an allowable use for that.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan there.
But that's an access point where you have lots of ways to get there.
Ralph, you need to call Jason? Can't get any more access there. Sounds like we have a head nod buy-in on that.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. We've kept our hands in a lot of pots.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not as easy as it seems to be.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, it still costs money.
So what does the Forest Service said about a long-term lease of that parcel on Oak Park?
The Oak Park, okay.
Yes, I did speak with one of the staff members at the U.S. Forest Service office last week, and they did indicate that currently they do not have plans for improvement for the facility, as I believe was said earlier. However, if we had any conceptual plans, they would be more than interested to take a look at those with us. They also expressed some interest in perhaps maybe meeting with staff and our engineering consultants at the site to actually put eyes on it, see the slope, see the level of erosion that you might have the potential for, to keep all of that in mind, to discuss what type of amenities would be applicable there.
Okay, I'm taking the ranger there, so he's seen all that, okay? So this is going backwards here, okay? Have you talked to Tallahassee office?
I have not.
Okay,
Well, I take that back. The gentleman I spoke with, I think he was originally in the local office, and then he's gone to the SO. Yeah, he's at the SO now.
well, basically you need to keep on Mr. Moody, because he can be a big help on that.
I will be happy to do that.
Ms. Carter, you have something else to add? Please come up to the microphone.
About the comment that they weren't supporting it. I have letters from them. I'll talk this over. We'll figure out what's,
Because, I've had discussions with them, and they're talking positive, so.
I would imagine it's about funding. If they don't have
Yeah, they don't have the money to do it.
They don't have to
But
pick up the
if
price.
they lease us the property, we can start applying for funding for it.
Yeah.
but some of these things that they asked for, we bought and paid for them, like elevation surveys.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like we're heading in the right direction. Very good. Additional questions, comments? Anyone else have anything else to ask? Hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Very good,
Stand
thank y'all.
adjourned, and BOCC meeting start at 5 p.m.